Facebook Marketplace is full of gambles. Was this one worth it? Let's find out. Let's get started. This is a 2013 Dodge Dart.
Richard, what are you doing?
I'm trying to advertise the vehicle.
It's just a Dodge Dart.
I guess so. It's just a Dodge Dart. This one's actually owned by Grimes, and many people who are mechanically inclined are always scanning Facebook Marketplace for that mechanic specialist that says, cranks won't start, maybe something simple, and for a small amount of money you could score, you could hit the big time, like win the lottery. But it's a gamble. And sometimes you fix the problem and get the engine running only to find out your problems have just begun. We're going to find out all that information today, but before we do that, let's take a look around this really, I don't know if it's sweet, but it's a Dart. So did Grimes get a good deal on this Dart? Let's find out. It has the limited trim on the front, you can see the bumper, and it also has a nice crack in the bottom there. Obviously that was done before he bought it. The paint's actually fair on it, and for what he paid, which we'll find out in a minute, actually it's not bad. In the back you can see it has the Dart in it, as I mentioned a minute ago, limited with the multi-air 1.4 turbo. We'll look at that here in a minute. But otherwise, it's not caved in or beat up or severely damaged. It's actually decent. So let's go ahead and pop the hood. So Grimes, how is this thing running?
So it's running a little bit rough after I got all the major stuff fixed with it. Does have a check engine light, comes and goes, and found out that I have a misfire on cylinder 3.
Oh boy. How many miles does this thing have on it?
Right now it's just over 147,000.
Okay. Sounds like it's time for new plugs and coils. Luckily for you, today's video is sponsored by AutoZone. These Duralast coils are made specifically for this car and so easy to install. The performance also meets or exceeds the original equipment this car came with. Duralast coils conveniently come in multi-packs that save you time and money rather than order them individually. Also, with as many miles on this car, it makes sense to replace the plugs too, especially since we're right here. We're replacing the old plugs with these new Iridium plugs from AutoZone as well. With this tune-up, your car will be running smoothly again.
Yeah, I do need a car that I can count on. Got to get to work every day. I drive about 60 miles, and I think these plugs and coils will definitely do that.
All right, so you found this thing on Facebook Marketplace, and it said, what, like cranks no start, or?
Yeah, cranks no start. He said no compression, and I kind of knew that these motors are prone to that symptom. So the multi-air operates a lot like BMW's Valvetronic, where it uses the actuators to actuate the intake valves to control throttle. Well, these are oil powered rather than BMW that has an electric motor.
Electric motor, yeah.
So if they sit too long, then it drains all the way down and you get no pressure in there and therefore no compression.
Right. So what was the price you actually paid for this thing?
$1,300.
$1,300.
Delivered even.
Delivered?
Yeah.
Wow, that's not bad at all.
Yep.
But even though you kind of had an idea that's what it truly was a gamble. You really didn't know what you were getting until you finally buy it and get it.
Yep. Had kind of a strong suspicion that that was the issue, but was also prepared for, it potentially being a timing belt or something more serious. And unfortunately, these engines are not terribly common.
Not terribly common, okay.
Kind of expensive when you find them. So the initial fix on this, like I mentioned, drain down, is actually free. So if you know what you're doing with these, you can kind of get a deal. But right here under the oil cap, there's a little tiny hole right there.
Yeah.
And you essentially just get a syringe with a tip and prime that block with oil. You'll take 100 to 200 cc's. And crank it over a couple times, and it should start. And that's what we did, and fired right up. Unfortunately, found some other issues. So, like you said, it is a gamble.
So you got it for $1,300, sight unseen. It was kind of a gamble. You actually got it running. And sometimes, just like the G.I. Joe of the '80s, knowing is half the battle. Sometimes getting it running is half the battle, where you're like, okay, now what? And then you go drive it. It could drive fine and you're good. And sometimes you can get it driving and they say, oh, there was a lot more to the story here that we didn't know, and you wouldn't know until you get it running. So what did you find out after you got it running?
So once it got running, I got in it to back it out of the driveway, and noticed that the clutch pedal was real high, like the friction point where the clutch engages. And as I got it out onto the street, it slipped terribly.
Oh, so, it was slipping bad, huh?
The clutch was unfortunately done for this thing. So
you actually had that apart and already fixed it. Actually, here's a couple pictures here of the old clutches, and you can see they're scored up pretty bad. It's like, it was really bad, wasn't it? Here we get a new clutch and pressure plate and everything in here, and it took care of that.
It did.
But can you imagine, like, maybe you got it running, but you're not skilled enough to do a clutch job on this. Now you're stuck taking it to the shop.
Yep.
And you may have not come out good on your gamble. Luckily, you was able to do it yourself. So you got it running, driving, the clutch fixed. What after that?
So as far as maintenance or anything, I haven't had to do anything. I do know that there are a few issues with this that I'll address as time goes on. Some suspension stuff. One of the engine mounts is pretty much shredded. It's the little torque mount in the back. And then of course the misfire, it's real intermittent, and sometimes it's on acceleration, it'll stumble, and I know that these have a 50,000 mile interval on plugs, and not knowing anything that's been done to this, yeah, it's probably best to do plugs, coils, and get that out of the way. Timing belt will definitely be coming up in the future. Checked it looked to be in good shape, but that's still a gamble.
That's still a gamble.
Yep.
All right. Did the heat and AC and everything work once you got it running and driving?
It did. Yeah, heat and AC works
Awesome.
great. Stereo works good. I mean, I haven't found anything that's real major that this thing needs.
So I do notice when we did the walk around, it's probably time for tires as well.
It very much is.
Yeah, they're looking pretty bald on there. We'll take a look at it here in a minute. So how much did you have into the clutch and everything as far as just the parts?
Clutch and pressure plate was about $400 to $500. It's a Clutch Masters kit. They sell it that fits this specifically because this did not have the same transmission as the Fiat 500 and the Abarth and all of that, even though the driveline is similar.
Right.
So you have to get a different clutch.
And so far you're getting close to a couple grand, and the argument can be made, like I can remember 15 years ago a couple grand, but man, you can just go get another car for that. But that's not true today. For 2 or 3 grand, you basically get a pile of crap.
Yep. And it's going to have far more miles than this, and the initial appeal to this was these things get 35 to 40 miles to a gallon.
Right.
And I, like I said, drive 60 miles every day, and going from an old BMW that gets 20 to 25 to this, it made sense.
Yeah, it definitely makes sense. Well, let's go ahead and get this thing on our lift over here. You can show us some of those things that you think might need to be replaced next.
Will do.
All right, well, here we are underneath. We'll do a quick glance of this thing. I'm already seeing some oil leaks.
So this is actually all just from the valve cover gasket, which is leaking down on top of transmission and kind of blowing all the way back. And until I replace the valve cover gasket, I'm not going to mess with that mount because oil will destroy that mount yet again. You
can see that it's split there. This is a tiny little engine.
Yeah, that's actually I think smaller than the transmission is.
Yeah, it's a little 1.4. Everything looks good up here. It's not leaking coolant or damaged or anything. What do we have here?
A fog light. You got to be able to illuminate the undercarriage sometimes.
It's the eye of Sauron looking at you guys.
Yeah, the clips inside the bumper are broken for the fog light.
Yeah. Otherwise, not too bad under here. And you were mentioning, so you got the mount there, and then you were mentioning some suspension issues, or?
Yeah. So somewhere along the line, this control arm was replaced.
Yeah.
But this one is still original, and I think you can see where the boot's torn, and then also that bushing there is pretty tired.
Yeah. That would pretty much take care. Does it ride pretty good other than some clunks are here or there, or does it even have clunks?
It doesn't really have any major clunks. It just has a bit of a shimmy on the highway.
Okay.
And that could be tire balance. So when I get the tires replaced and get this control arm done, I'll do an alignment and all that, and should be just fine. Somebody did do brakes up front at some point and did not put the anti-rattle hardware back on.
Oh,
so it makes more noise from those than it does the suspension.
Here's our exhaust and our little heat shield there. You should straight pipe this thing.
That's popular on these.
Yeah. As we head back to the back, let's see what we got back here. There's the muffler. Do you have any suspension issues you know of in the back, or?
I do have one rear shock is failing.
That one looks decent. Let's check the other side.
Yep,
there you go, guys. You can see
Yep,
it's leaking oil out of it. Check these sway bar links. You said it has no rattle, so the links are probably fine.
Yep.
Yeah,
the links are all in good shape. I mean, I had the whole front suspension apart when I pulled the transmission.
So basically, you just need some control arms, a valve cover gasket, the mount, some struts back here, some tires, and
should be good.
Should be good to go. All right, well, let's get this thing on the ground. All in all, I think you did pretty good. When you get everything fixed, you might be at $2,250, and like we were talking about a minute ago, you really can't get a good running, reliable driving car with AC and everything for that much anymore.
No, and I mean, definitely helps to have the knowledge, to see this.
Yes.
Kind of have an idea of what the problem might be, jump into it, and it's a risk, but it did kind of pay off. That price point was good where, if I knew having to do major work to it, I was still comfortable with that.
Yeah. A good car running and driving today is at least $5,000, and he came in probably at half. I'd say that's definitely a score. All right, I'll let you head back to break. We're going to let Mrs. Wizard give the interior review of this sweet, well, kind of sweet Dart.
There's some good points about it, okay?
Okay.
Okay, ladies and gents, it's a little hard to read just because the camera's not picking up well, but 148,152 miles. And I love this gauge cluster. I love the red rim around everything. It looks really nice. But as we move up, this actually is presenting very nicely. With that many miles and the fact how cheaply he got this thing, the dash is in great shape. It's got a huge infotainment screen. Simple controls here for our HVAC system, and even though it's looking, and I'll cover that light up so we can see a little better, it's had better days. That shift knob is not looking oh so great, but you can see that it is a 6-speed manual, so that does add a bit of fun to this Dodge Dart. Let's move back. You see we have a couple cup holders. Got a little bit of cracking going on here on this armrest, but that's nothing that we've not seen in the past. It just happens, and he can either maybe look on eBay for a replacement, or they make some great stickers. We've found some stuff before. It's on our Amazon affiliates, that Mastoplasta. Pretty much you just stick it on and it covers it up. Looks like we've got some no passing lines in the middle of our seat there, but they are cloth and quite comfortable. Got a little bit of bolster on the side as well, with some adjustable headrests as well. Door card's in good shape as well. Lots of gray going on in here, so this is very much a millennial's favorite color, so looking good. Well, what does everybody need but a nice Razor scooter in the back seat? Why not? Grimes is a kid at heart, and so we've got that store in the back. We've got more no passing stripes on our seats as well, and that back shelf is looking nice as well. Well, on our ceiling, looks like we've got maybe a little bit of something going on there. Not Cheeto fingers, but I'm not sure. It looks like a leak of some sort, but I'm not sure. There's no sunroof, moonroof, and anything going on. So I'm not sure how that one happened, other than maybe driving down the road with the window partly down. And we're back to our steering wheel. Simple controls here. This is presenting very well for a car he was able to get for just $1,300. And after this interior talk, let's get some final thoughts on this from the Wizard.
So Grimes actually did pretty good on this. I really applaud him. I actually remember when he was looking at this and we chatted about it and we were thinking, is this going to be a ripoff? Is it going to be a good deal or not? If you are mechanically inclined, it is definitely worth the gamble. But if you're skilled enough to do spark plugs, brake job, but not much else, you probably should not take a gamble like this. You could really get taken to the cleaners really bad. But being that we have a lift, he has access to a lift, and he has the knowledge as a professional mechanic, and if you're a skilled mechanic or professional mechanic, there definitely is some deals to be had out there. I've had a lot of them in the past myself, where I found a car that says engine's locked up or won't start or this or that, and I kind of ask some questions, and I don't say what I think is wrong. That's the thing to remember here. If you're going to purchase this before Grimes fixed it, don't ever mention, oh yeah, I'll just bleed the multi-air valve system and I'll have it back running again. They definitely going to stand firm on their price at that point. What you want to do is say, I'm not sure what I'm going to find. I don't know how bad this is. Would you take $1,000? You got to work the deal here, because you are really taking a risk. Now, when you go to make the deal, don't take advantage of the seller. I mean, they're between a rock and a hard place. They can't get it fixed. They don't know what they're going to do. Don't offer them $200 and rip them off. Offer them a fair price where they can make some good money. But also try to work a deal, because you yourself are taking a big risk. So it's kind of a balance. You need to kind of balance that. Once he gets all the little things fixed up, like we just said a minute ago, he's going to be in at $2,000, $2,500. And to me, I guess I'm an older generation. In the back of my mind, I think, wow, you can go buy another car for that. But I have to wake myself up and say, no, you can't. This isn't 1992. This is 2024. A good car today is at least $5,000. So kudos to Grimes on this purchase. In a previous video, I had my Dodge Charger I just got. Some of you Australians, as you say it, have mentioned that my car is a bogan car. Us here in America probably are like, what the hell is that? It's an Australian thing. Basically, a person who has Chargers and Challengers and things of that nature. What do you guys think, the Australians? Is this a bogan car? Maybe the Alfa Romeo Giulietta or something? I think it's the same platform. Let us know in the comments what you think. Make sure to check out Mrs. Wizard's Ways, also in the description below. She's got really great videos for you to watch there. And hit the subscribe button here, because we have tons of cars in the shop waiting to make videos on for you guys. Thanks for watching.